Hola. What's up, Chris? We're here.
Yeah, we're early now.
We're live. We're late early. Early late.
Early late.
We went to help move the guy who owns the building, the landlord, Chris. We helped him move in, and so I told him I'd help him move out of the storage unit. So we just ran over there. It's a couple hours. It was like an hour and a half or so of unloading the storage unit and moving everything into his new garage at his house. So just got back from sweating. It's 88 and 60% humidity, and man, is it hot. Yeah, it's brutal.
How does his garage look? His new garage.
It's good. I mean, he's built this massive, I think he got like another 12 or 1,300 square feet onto like a normal, like oversized 3-car. So he made it it's like a 6-car or so now, but it's pretty good. It looks good. He's got super tall ceilings. He's going to get his lift in there, and it's going to be nicer than what he had over here. So yeah, that's what we were working on this afternoon. So that's why we're our normal 2:00 time, although we kind of do whatever we have to do. So we moved it to 3:30, I thought, and I got back early, so now we're here at 3. And so welcome to all.
Yeah, we already got 92 people watching us, so I'm glad you guys stuck around.
Oh crap, that's it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Most people watch this after the fact anyway, and then of course we're recording it so people can listen to it in the future. And somebody made a suggestion. I think it probably should do is to make go back to some specific podcasts too. This format is probably better live or on YouTube than it is on listening. But I guess it just depends. I mean, we do a lot of business talk and a lot of life talk, so I don't know. People seem to like it. It seems to get pretty decent traction, so we'll just keep doing it.
Let's see here. I got an easy question. Well, here you go. We'll start with Gav Details first on Instagram. This will bring a smile to your face. This is my favorite part about working from home on Fridays, is hearing the podcast and watching the live streams. So thanks for that. It's cool, Gav. Let's see. We'll go to this one from Jay Flynn. Hi, Matt. You mentioned distributed audio systems a bit lately. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on Sonos. I've used them for a few years. They sound fantastic. Performance is rock solid, and they have lots of options to choose from. I think it might be what you're looking for. Curious to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, not Sonos speakers, but the Sonos ecosystem is pretty legit. That's what we're putting in at my house. And I've got this kind of jank setup, this old Bose setup where they ran a bunch of speakers in parallel. They just ran a single 2-conductor wire all the way through the house and then jumped from speaker to speaker. And so what we're doing is we're going to use the Sonos amps, which are stable to 4 ohms, and then using the Sonos app so that way we can play music. And so I'm actually putting in some. I guess the company's called Strong. It's a competitor to Middle Atlantic. I was going to do it all myself, and I'm like, I just don't have the time or energy to do it. And then access and Middle Atlantic is really hard to figure out how to buy the stuff if you're not in the business. And so I just had the dude, one of my former colleagues back in the day, come up to the house, and so we're putting in a Sony projector, screen, and then fixing because the Bose stuff finally stopped working. And so I'm putting a couple of LCDs out on the pool deck. The plan is I'd like to gut the pool deck and do an Evo grill. And I've been, Sam the cooking guy, pretty obsessed lately, cooking up steaks and buying steaks from Snake River Farms and dialing in my game on cooking them. So and getting we still have like a Panasonic little 20-inch LCD out there that doesn't work because I don't have cable. We don't have Comcast anymore. And so we're putting a couple of, as much as I hate LCD, we're putting a couple of Sony LEDs. Stop calling it LED. It's not there's no such thing as LED. It's a freaking LCD. There's organic LED, but there's no LED TV. It's an LED backlight, which is worse than a traditional fluorescent backlight. So they marketed it as an LED TV, which is bullcrap.
It's worse.
Yeah. It's just so anyway. I'm putting 2 garbage Sony XBRs out there because organic LED doesn't really work very well outside and heavy glare situations. So got to do some crappy LCDs out there, which is good because they're like $800 or something like that for 70. I think a 75-inch XBR is $1,100 or something like that.
They
so
have the new mini LED backlit
Yeah, we'll see. It's probably going to suck. If it doesn't create its own light source, then it generally doesn't have good black level. So all that being said, I'm doing a freaking LCD projector, which I'm gonna hate. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm soon doing a Sony 695 ES, or I think it's 695 ES, a VPLB VW 695. I think is the model number on the projector, and I'm doing a Screen Innovation screen, and then again the key is to get the racks so we clean up the mess. I got a new Dream Machine and a new modem because my internet's been acting up, so I'm doing what I normally do and just starting fresh. A Dream Machine's only $350. Oh, I need to get a hard drive. Forgot about that. Bryce has got to come out and do my. That's part of his requisite. He's gonna be my guy. He's gonna help me with the dad help when the dad gets stuck.
Show you how to work your remote for your VCR.
Yeah, he's got to come program a VCR for me.
I'll set it up at 6 o'clock to get the 6 o'clock news.
I just hire somebody, but it's like there's like no one that does this stuff. That's a business we could create so easily.
Like,
Go set up Ubiquity networks, proper home networks in people's homes, and that's all you do.
Yeah.
Cameras, network. You wouldn't even need to do cameras. Like you don't even need to do any wiring. Just go out and just configure. Just configure a home network. You sell them Ubiquity equipment and you configure it. You can make millions.
You sell Cisco, Meraki, and then you make some money because you can't make money off Ubiquity.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, you could. You just charge labor.
Yeah, you have to factor it in.
Yeah.
All right, I want to get to this question here from Matt Kirsch, who showed up. He was the first one here in the chat earlier. Hi, Matt and Chris. For soft paint, like on an S2000, would you still recommend the 320 GSM 80/20 polish wax removal towels or plusher towels?
You're probably going to need something. You probably want to use something Korean. Probably want to use something a little more plush, like the Eagle 350, Eagle Edgeless, or like a Pluffle. You probably don't even want the Pluffle because it has an edge. So you probably want an edgeless, like a brand new. You want brand new towels, and yeah, I'd probably use like the Eagle 350 or something like that. I just don't like the super heavy ones. They just push water around, push liquids around. So,
all right, on that topic, Epiphany Detailing wants to know: would you recommend the green coating removal towel for can coat or something heavier?
Yeah, I think you need something heavier. It's it's going to seep right through the towel. Because it builds up on the towel. But yeah, I was using like one of the Geon towels because I was going to throw them away anyway, and it ruins the towel like immediately. So yeah, the can coat is not. Yeah, I don't like it. I haven't washed it yet. I think why people like it so much is because the water behavior. I can already tell. I mean, just saw Bryce put a drop of water on the towel, and it's like sitting there like it's like a magic trick. So it's going to be extremely hydrophobic. But just think about this logically. So I'm taking something, I'm doing 2 spritzes on a towel. So I'm putting trace amounts of silicon dioxide on the towel. And I'm going to transfer a small percentage because microfiber grabs and holds. Right? So the application method is I'm spritzing it on there, and I'm going to wipe it on the clean surface. The clean, hopefully oil-free surface after polishing. And so I wipe it on there. And I'm going to leave trace amounts because most of the product's going to stay on the towel, right? But once the towel gets loaded up, then it doesn't really work very well. And so you're kind of loading up. You're building up the product on the towel, and then you're transferring. Wipe it on the car, and then you have to wipe it off, and you're using lights because you get high spots just like a coating. So I'd figured it took me like 2/3 the amount of time to do the can coat application versus doing a regular coating. But just think about this logically. So I'm taking true silicon dioxide. That's can coat's big thing. It's not some last coat V 2.0 or F11 top coat or some bullcrap spray on stuff. Water delivered. I mean, this is a solvent based. You can tell because it ruins the sprayers. My guess is it's a solvent delivered. This isn't like a waterborne product. So this is a true silicon dioxide delivered, really caustic chemical process that you're putting on the car. It's not resin delivered, but from what I can tell, it's not water delivered. It's not a waterborne product. And so it's going to be superior to a water delivered, spray silica sealant. And so I'm taking these trace amounts, and you just think about chemically I'm taking and I'm filling, or I'm attaching silicon dioxide. I guess it'd be a molecule, right? So I'm attaching the molecules to my clear coat to the surface. But it's very different than a resin-delivered system, where a resin-delivered system is going to bond and, kind of carry the peaks and valleys of the clear coat, whereas on this spray silica, the spray-on type coating, where I'm leaving trace amounts of silicon dioxide, I'm putting enough particles on the surface to where a particle or a water droplet is going to be much, much bigger than these microscopic trace molecules of silicon dioxide that I'm kind of placing on the surface of the paint. And so what happens is that a water droplet drops on the surface, and because that water droplet is much, much bigger than the molecule, than the gaps between the silicon dioxide molecules, I'm effectively changing the contact angle of the water as it hits the surface. So I get lots of beading. But there's still tons of gaps, because there's no way that you're leaving this. And the whole point of doing a coating and doing this whole cross hatching and all of that stuff is you're not leaving any gaps. You're leaving like a semi-permeable but a full layer of resin-delivered silicon dioxide, and then the silicon dioxide takes the resin and creates the solidification or the hardening of it. As the solvents evaporate, you're left over with a trace amount of a few like a fraction of a micron of something on the surface. But we have 0 microns on this this solvent delivered can coat. Still better than water delivered, but not resin delivered. And now again, I'm just speaking out of just logic here. I'm not an expert. I'm not a chemist, but it just seems logical that yes, I've got these trace amounts of silicon dioxide I'm leaving behind, which changes the contact angle of the water, which the placebo effect is that, man, if it's beating water, it must be protecting the surface. But is it really? You can see it. I mean, it doesn't look really any different than the polished surface. Whether you'd say, some guy arguing with me about, well, my gloss meter says, and my first thing is the gloss meters are bull crap, but my gloss meter says, and it's probably the $150 Amazon one, the one that Apex uses, that $200 piece of garbage that they all use as gospel. That thing's garbage. The row point is like $4,500, needs to be calibrated once a year, and that one still doesn't work very well. So how's the $200 one going to give you any kind of accuracy? So the problem I have with the gloss meter is I put it on, I get a reading, and I have to take it off, and I put it back in this relatively the same spot, and I get a complete 75% different reading, and I put it back on, and I get 50% different, and then I get the first reading that I got, and you get reading after reading after reading, and obviously you're supposed to take the average, but in my estimation using that thing, I think your subjectiveness is better. I've determined that the subjectiveness of my eyes is better than this randomness of this meter that doesn't really work very well. So when you put a coating, when you put CSL Exo, the surface looks deeper, wetter. It looks different. Maybe the gloss isn't as good as it was after you polish, but who cares? It looks better. It feels better, and that you've left an actual semi-permeable surface on top of the clear coat, so it gets some more protection. In other words, if you're looking for water beading, I just don't know what kind of chemical resistance or what kind of additional chemical help. What is can coat really going to do for me other than give me good water behavior? Now, some would argue that water behavior is all that really matters. We just need the water to fall off the surface. That's the whole point. But I haven't washed it yet, so I don't know. Maybe I'll fall in love with it when it's done, so I put it on all over the place. But certainly wasn't great on the trim. You can put it on trim, glass, everything. So I just put it on top of the whatever woofs was left over on the glass because I didn't polish the glass. But it's an interesting experiment. So a lot of people are like, well, why are you abandoning Jescar and Culinite? I said, well, I'm not abandoning it. I'm just trying something different. This product's been around a long time. I just never really had an interest in it because of this thing I'm explaining to you. I'm leaving trace amounts of silicon dioxide molecules on the surface that are not cross-linking, they're not connecting, and if they are, there's still going to be many, many gaps in the delivery of the chemical makeup that's attaching to your clear coat.
It's like you're wiping something on, you're not really applying it.
Yeah, the reason why this theory and then why silicon dioxide has become so popular is because, it's when it attaches to the surface, although loosely, but when it loosely attaches to the surface, you end up with a contact angle change. And so when water doesn't attach or sit on the surface as much. Now, the problem is it causes water to pull up in the gaps. That's why it does it. That's why it's not hydrophobic or hydrophilic, where the water just falls off. What you're hoping happens is enough water pulls up, or that it's still, it becomes too heavy, and because the surface tension has changed, that it falls off. But what likely happens is this is why you get all those little tiny little beads that sit on the flat surfaces of the car, and then the sun comes out and then frickin' destroys your clear coat. So, anyway. Just my thoughts on that. I don't even know what the question was, but that's what I'm.
There was no question. I don't think. Let's see. Well, on a similar note here from Brandon on Facebook, does G-Technic C1 lacquer apply the same as CSL? Applied CSL to my RV, and it's failing, and I've been told to use C1 on RVs.
Yeah, well, C1 is like their original. It's a variant of the original Crystal Serum. Like the original. This is prior to Crystal Serum Ultra. So C1 is a much thicker. It's the traditional coating. It's harder to apply. You've got to manage your flash times. I haven't used it. I've just talked to Eric about it, and they recommend C1 a lot. So a lot of those old coatings, like the original C-Quartz UK, was really difficult to do, but the durability of it was much better. I don't know about C1 in water spots. I think it is more susceptible to that, but it is certainly a thicker, harder, heftier product. You can even tell, like you can see it. It's like a thicker thing that goes on the surface. But yeah, that it will probably give you a better bond. I'm assuming the RV is probably gel coat of some sort.
All right, we had a few questions here since last week. It was we were doing the live stream all around the bidding on the Civic. So folks want to know what your thoughts were now that you're a week removed, and did that deal actually go down? Did this guy actually pay $50K for it, or do you know anything else?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I haven't gotten any offers to buy it. I probably wouldn't buy it now. I'm like over it. It's like those things that I wanted to get it for the fun of it, the absurdity of it, and that I didn't want to pay $50,000 for it. I wanted to pay $35,000 for it, but I thought it would be fun just to create some waves. And then I bought two really nice EM1 Civics, and then when I did the giveaway, it would cause all kinds of buzz and press and all of that stuff. That some crazy guy bought two, paid. Well, the two of them would have been $60,000 together if I'd bought it for $35,000 like I thought I'd be able to. And then me and that guy got in a bidding war. But from what I understand, I mean, a couple of people have commented that they it's some guy in Orlando that he's got some businesses, and I don't know who it is. I don't know what his business is, but some guy said his boss was the one who was bidding and won the car. So it's one of those things where I said this on the live stream. I said, look, you make a couple $1 million, $2, $3, $4, $5 million, and even if you make $1 million or $500,000 a year, and you decide you wanted that car, and you've got money in the bank, and you're like, I want this car, and this is the one I want. I'm looking for one, and let's say you were going to pay $32,000 for it. If you really want a car, $18,000, especially if you're used to buying $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 cars, another $16,000, $18,000 now. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, I'll buy it at $47,000, but not at $60,000. And so at some point you draw your line in the sand. But if I didn't have the car that I had, I would have paid whatever it would have taken. To paid $80,000 for if I had to pay it to get it. But because I already have one, I'm already into that one really, really deeply, then there wasn't any reason for me to go, to that level. But I understand why he would have bought it and said, look, I want an EM1, I'm building a collection, or I want that car, I want to experience it, I always wanted one, and a 5,000-mile one comes up, and maybe another one will come up a year or two from now with 15 or 20 or 30 or 50,000 miles on it. But I would always want the 5,000-mile one, and let's say you're going to pay $27,000 for a for a 52,000-mile really, really decent one versus, getting a 5,000-mile one and paying $50,000, and you make, $1.6 million. What's frickin' $23,000, and the fun of it and the auction of it, and you get into it. I mean, now if you make 52 and you pay 50 for the car, and you're going to take out a car loan, and you've got $8,000 in the bank, you're not going to do that. At least I certainly hope you wouldn't do that. So it's one of those things that, this guy wanted it more than me. I didn't want it at 47. I was going to be really disappointed in myself if I did that. But 35 for a car like that, it's a really clean example. I'm in.
So thank you, USA. Yeah.
So I've had 6 or 7 people, guys trying to sell me other cars. I'm like, what do you? Like, I've got this really clean Kia Stinger, or I've got
blue.
I've got this or that. I'm like, no. What do you? Yeah, no.
Well, I thought you would appreciate this comment from your friend Chris Kim in the Facebook questions here. If I had $50,000, I would have a hard time deciding between a low mileage Civic Si and the full OG wash bucket setup. That's pretty good there, Chris.
Yeah.
Well said.
Chris has been on a roll lately. He's life's been beating him down. I think he's been
got to find humor somewhere.
Yeah, the world has been beating him down.
All right, a couple more Civic questions here while we're on this. Let's see. I think this is a joking question, but I'll ask you anyway. From Soulman23, are you going to throw a Wings West kit on the Civic?
No.
What is that?
I don't know. Yeah, I have some sort of body kit, but it would have been a C West kit for me back in the day, but I was railed against something. That's stupid.
And then Jim wants to know from Facebook, when will the Civic giveaway open? Any ideas? I need a Hex membership, some other supplies, and an OG spec Civic.
Let's think about this logically. So, I'm sending it to Sound in Motion to do the stereo on around the 1st, and it'll be there for roughly the month of July. And then we paid John, so I paid John for the engine. I think he's got one lined up, so he'll probably have the engine by the time the car gets back. So I'm guessing probably, August. Hopefully I'll have all the suspension components, so I'll be putting the suspension together in the month of August. I want to do as much as I can myself and then send the broken whatever's left down to John to fix the rest of it for me. And so my guess is we'll probably do the engine in September, so we'd have the stereo done. The interior's about done. I'm just waiting on the steering wheel. And so hopefully, come September, I'll have my Desmond Regamasters. I'll have my wheel setup figured out, suspension done, stereo done. We'll have the engine bay, the engine done, the tuning done. So now the car is drivable and pretty functional. A couple of other little tweaks, little things that I might do. And then probably do the giveaway, October or November, something like that. I think would be
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
So there you go, Jim. It's going to be a little while.
I would like to try to do it before the holidays. So that would be but we're 6-7 months out. I guess 5-6 months out.
Let's see here. Simon wants to know, do you already have plans to modify the GT4 when it arrives, exhaust, etc.?
There really isn't much to do. I'll just do exhaust. That's about it. Headers and exhaust likely would be all I think I'll probably do the car. But we're going to do a full correction, protection. The Aztec film is, from what I can tell thus far, in the few hours I've had my car back, it looks fantastic. So we'll probably do Aztec again, paint corrected Aztec, and then exhaust, dial in the interior, radar detector, and that's pretty much it. Window tint. So it's just the typical GT car stuff that I do. But that's about it. So there's not really much else. Oh, DSC controller, if they come out with one. That frickin' DSC controller, oh my gosh. It's just so unbelievably good. I mean, I can't even explain to you how much better the car feels. Just plug it in. Just stick with their settings. It's amazing.
All right, Tyler asked in here, I brought up the picture for you. If you decided on those wheels, since that's the picture that we
No,
used.
I don't really like any of the wheels. So the wheels were all bought to figure out what's the way to go, you know. And the problem is that this is the part of the people don't understand. You can't just buy what you want. It doesn't exist. Like I can't just, like if I want some gunmetal 16-inch TE37s, they don't exist. There's nothing I can do about it. So I bought everything that exists, everything I can get my hands on to figure out what I want, and then try to. And this is like what some of the other little tweaks at the end will be. Figure out what wheels. The we'll see with the suspension. I mean, the car isn't low enough for the way that it's set up, and there's a little stretch because they're 15x8s on a 205, and there's some poke in the front, and so we'll see what happens when I get the brakes and the camber and all that stuff done. But you know, those likely aren't the ones. But I'm gonna. It might be more like giving away 10 sets of wheels with the car. So we'll see.
Let's see. Dallas, our good Canadian friend here. Why haven't you sold all the other wheels to buy more TEs? He wants to know. Is that what's on in the picture? TEs?
Yeah, because there aren't any. You can't buy any.
There you go.
Or I'd be all over it.
Are you planning on doing a video with Dundon soon for the intake/exhaust project now that the RS is on its way back?
Yeah.
It's from Eric on Facebook.
Yeah, I'd like to, I got to call Jamie and figure out, what to do. Again, I want to do a project out here and getting everything to line up. They have a young growing business and I have a young growing business. So maybe I'll just do it myself. We'll see. Or go do it with Titan or something like that, or PSI or somebody. And I'm not sure yet. I'm not in any dire rush. I finally got the car up to my spec, up to standard, and so we'll wait till I get bored.
All right, Daniel on Askbook asked this, and I got the answer from Bryce here. What's the status of our beloved Camry posters? Daniel, according to our contacts at Staples, it's going to be, another week or so? Because I
have to redo.
Yeah, they redid. They messed up one of our other posters, so now they have to do those first. So another week or two, Daniel. Patience. Scott had this idea on Facebook for a crowdfunding source idea. Matt's price for getting a print of Chris's Camry dome is $500. What would Matt's price be for getting a tattoo of an OG Hex logo be? No temporary tattoos. It'd be a great video.
No, never.
Never? There is no price?
There is no price. There is no,
Are you getting the
It'd be
tattoo,
like,
Chris?
it'd be 8 figures.
I would definitely get one for the right price, and it wouldn't be 8 figures.
What kind of price you talking? 10 grand? Would that do it?
Depends on the size. No, it'd be more
Size and
$10,000.
location.
Yeah, size and I'd have to choose.
I want it right below your belly button.
No, you have to
No,
get
right above it.
right here.
No tramp stamps.
But like,
That's
let's say like a upper shoulder
right here?
arm. Yeah.
Where the logo is? Oh, yeah,
How much?
I don't know. It would be at least 5 figures for sure. But it wouldn't take a whole lot more than that. That's for sure.
Yeah, so we talking like 80,000 or like maybe 15?
No, closer to 80. $50,000. We could go tonight and get it done.
50.
Has to say property of obsessed garage.
50,000. That's a lot of money.
That
I
is
thought
a
you would
lot
have been
of
a
money.
lot cheaper than that.
No. I don't have any other
What about
tattoos.
like the heart, like this whole thing? That Mattyism on your chest.
That would take a lot more. That would hurt. Every time I
That would look cool though.
You're like,
go to the beach, people look at me like, what's wrong with that guy?
Yeah, I think it would be. They'd be like, wow, that tattoo's pretty sick.
Yeah.
until they walk up and see what it's
What about like the like the on the back of the shirt, like the Obsessed Garage up by like your neck there, where you'd see it all the time, like when you're
It's peeking out.
Yeah.
No. Then I could just never wear a shirt to work again if I had the Mattyisms. I just wear this.
Or like it's like the girl that gets like a rose on their neck. And yeah.
I might have to grow out my hair.
Get a giant nut tattooed on your back.
Let's see what you did, Scott. So yeah, no, I'm not getting a tattoo, and evidently Matt's not either.
So I'm high 7,
he's-
maybe 8 figures
I'm mid-5s.
to get like a little tattoo on my arm. You also have to factor in my fear of needles and all that.
Would you just pass out, do you think, and just be done?
Probably, yeah.
Well, that would be easy. You just wake up and it's done.
No. It only lasts a few seconds. I still have to endure it.
Take all that money and you take it and get it removed.
Yeah. But the removal part would be too scary.
Yeah, I think that hurts worse. I don't know. Two very inexperienced tattoo guys here talking about tattoos. Let's see. Peter wants to know from Instagram, when are you building the new garage at your house? What will it entail?
I've forgotten about that. Right now we're heavy in the throes of. I was just checking a text message. The contractor to do the OG distribution hub. So we've got to put in an office and bathrooms, ADA compliant bathrooms, and change the doors around and do some insulation and AC and all that stuff. So that's probably going to. My poor garage keeps getting postponed, but. We're buying our time as much as possible. Isn't it biding your time?
Yeah.
But I'm saying I'm buying time because we need to get. There's just too many cars here. The fire department's gonna come in and kick us out of here soon. We're parking all over the place. It's like we're like ants.
We had a warning the other day. I don't know if you were here when that lightning struck. Lightning got that tree right there.
Oh yeah.
There's all sorts of pieces of the tree on the cars that were parked in the illegal parking spot.
Oh, you mean like a divine warning?
Yeah.
Not a.
Bryce actually saw it happen. We just heard it because it was so loud. So yeah.
Yeah, they'll be running shuttles, carpooling from the Mormon household.
Let's see. Up here, our Mike is chiming in the chat here. Mike T. He'll add a hex on his arm for a cost. So all you gotta do is cover the cost.
Then that's no fun. No one wants to pay that. Was it $180 or something? Get something like that done. What does a tattoo cost?
Yeah, I would say a couple $100.
That's it.
Well, for like one like this, I would imagine. I don't know.
Probably like 3 to 5, depending.
Somebody chime in. What is this? What is it like a
for a good tattoo artist?
Yeah, Mike will be able to tell us.
Yeah. Well, like, what is something like that going to cost us?
Let's see. We'll take an average of what we see in the chat.
$400. That seems cheap.
I don't know.
I thought it'd be like $4,000 or something. Like it. I guess if it was that expensive, no one would have tattoos.
Yeah, that's a little pricey there.
Yeah.
$400 for a lifelong thing.
What if I want Kat Von D to put the Hex logo on my arm?
We'll go down to Miami.
Is that going to cost me $4,000 or something?
Ask Tommy F. Yeah, we see 400, 300. A good artist is 300 per hour. We're here. Kind of depends on where you're going, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's 300 per hour. Now you're talking. If you're doing a 10-hour, $3,000. So
yeah, for a sleeve, who is it that said they get a sleeve? Someone here. Sleeve costs $6,000 for Mark. So sleeve, I guess, is the whole.
Yeah, probably doing multiple, different
Right.
tattoos over time. That's it. That seems pretty reasonable to me.
150 an hour, 175 an hour. Good artist is 300 an hour, 300.
Yeah, that seems dirt cheap.
So
if I was a tattoo artist, I'd be getting in trouble for that because I'd be charging, $2,000 an hour or something like that. And then all the other tattoo artists would hate me because I'm charging more than they are because they didn't think of it. Same thing happened in detailing.
all right, so correct my pronunciation here if I'm wrong. From Presidential Automotive Detailing, Matt, some silver Rega Masters, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Would look great on the SI. Actually, any color Rega would look great. Did I hear you say you ordered a set?
Yeah, they're the gunmetal. They're like the kind of in between the light silver and the black. So it's like a dark gray is the color that I got. I should have them in August.
Let's see. NBA player tattoos are in the 5 figures. Yeah, some of them have some big one. Prison tats are cheap if you have the time. There you go. Oh, speaking of none of that, I was asked the one favor my wife has asked for me to share on the podcast with you. She thought you would enjoy hearing this.
Okay.
Is that we finished Heart of Dixie.
Oh.
And
well, how many seasons? Is it 5?
There's only like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I was slightly disappointed. I'm not gonna lie.
It's good. But wasn't the last one real stupid or singing and crap?
Yeah, there was a bunch of singing.
Yeah, that was bad.
It wasn't quite as bad as the Grey's Anatomy episode where they sang the whole time, but it was. Yeah, so it's over, and I was sad, and she wanted you to know that because she thought you'd appreciate that.
Grey's Anatomy, I can't. It's terrible. That show's terrible.
I
I probably watched 3 seasons of that, but the whole like supermodel dude and the dumpy ugly chicks is like the weirdest thing ever. It's like it looks so clear what they're doing, and Michelle's like, "What? No, they're not doing that." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Are you watching the same show as me?"
There's a bunch of good-looking guys on their show.
Yeah, and then there's regular, like below regular girls, and like these dudes. They're doing that because it's a girls' show, and girls are aspirational. Well, it's ridiculous.
There's a McDreamy and a McSteamy, but there's no nicknames for the lady characters.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
Alchemy Lab suggests for you, I love to G my car tattoo. Think Gian will pay for that?
No, I don't think they would.
Matt, when is the next Wash and Chat? I'm pumped. That's from Mike, I think.
I'm going to do a couple this weekend. I'm going to do the Civic, and I need to, probably need to wash the M3. I do want to do, I don't know. I'm not going to stop promising. I'll probably do one if I'm lucky. Who am I kidding? I need to be more realistic about things.
All right, let's see. Brian, our buddy here from Brooklyn, says, "Hey, yo, from Brooklyn, love the live stream." So thanks, Brian. $10 super chat there. Got a couple polisher questions here. Which cordless flex polisher would you recommend? I know you tried several on the GT3, and there was one you didn't like, but are there any that you recommend?
Yeah, so I just placed the order. We're going to be carrying, so I'm going to be changing up the polishing platform, on the website. Polishing's tricky because there's so many like little niche products that that I might want to have in my cabinet, but I find that I'm not using. And so I got a little confused there in constructing because, again, my vision for ObsessedGarage.com for the website is to be not a retailer, but to be a consultant or a curator. I want to curate things, and so we have the Miele and the rotary and the LTA 75, which I never ever use. And we have like rotary backing plates and rotary pads, and then the Flex line of polishers has a bunch of other stuff, and so I'm going to be sort of changing up and again curating the polishing process and eliminating a bunch of crap from the page, a bunch of extra fluff, and Bryce and I are going to sit down and figure out how do we create A to Z. But you start with A and you work your way to Z, because the problem with polishing is to do polishing, you need a couple $1,000 worth of stuff, but you can progress toward that to really do it efficiently. And so, what's the number one product? What's the thing you need second? What's the thing you need third? What's the thing you need fifth? What would an entire package be comprised of? And so we're going to change the package up a little bit, and simplify it a little bit. But we're going to be carrying the PXE80, which is the little one, the XFE7, which is the 3-inch. So I like the XFE7, which is the electric 3-inch. I like it more than the Rupe's LHR75. And so we're going to replace that. The LHR 15 Mark III is the best machine out of any machine, so that's still the number one machine. But I love the idea of having the complement of the XFE 15, which is the cordless 5-inch random orbital free spinning. And so I'm going to do away with the Miele. I'm not doing the XCE, which is forced rotation. I don't like forced rotation at all. So I'm never going to suggest it to anybody. And so why am I trying to capture that 2 sales, every 90 days? Instead, let's just go narrow, stay narrow and deep, and try to make it as understandable as possible, instead of just trying to sell people crap. And so I'm going to remove the Miele, which I never, ever use. Remove the rotary, which I've never turned on one time. And remove all the accessories for that. And so what I'm planning to have here in hopefully July, I'm planning to have a open house, with an open house like Milwaukee hands-on. We'll talk about Milwaukee here in a minute. And then like an open house, sale of stuff that I need to kind of clean out and clear out of, excess inventory of things that as we clean up the site a little bit. I wouldn't say the site is dirty or has a lot of extra stuff. It's like maybe a half a dozen things, but I want to get narrower and more focused on exactly what the progressive steps are, so that people can really have a solid footing or understanding of where do they start and where do they end. And then also I want to build the everything package as well. So going back to the specific packages, and we're about to go through an inventory exercise here. We've about caught up to our orders. We're waiting on a couple more little straggler products for the giveaway and stuff like that. We're learning how to manage this, learning how to manage a giveaway and all of that stuff. And so we're going to, I want to make sure our packages are always in stock. We're going to start building those out, pre-building them, having them boxed and ready to go. And so I'm going to be kind of cleaning that up and revamping that with the whole team.
All right, one more question about polishers here since we're on the subject. This is from Jeff on Facebook. Have you ever thought about carrying the Adams Micro Polisher?
No.
As a budget-oriented option?
No,
I'd love to get a full
absolutely
Rupes.
not. No.
Nope. Oh, sorry, Jeff. What is the cost Flex versus Rupes? Are they about the same?
Yeah, pretty close. The PXE80 is $400. It's a pretty awesome kit. I mean, it's to finish my discussion about that. So we had LHR 15 Mark III. I'm still going to carry the 21 because it just depends on your preference there. I like having both of those. So LHR 15, XFE 15, which is the 15 millimeter full size 18 volt cordless. So those two kind of complement each other. And then, but I made this comment on the Facebook group. The XFE is not really a beginner machine. It's hard to manage. You got to be really flat. I'm sure you could figure it out, but you're doing a lot of scrubbing and a lot more. I wouldn't say advanced, but you got to have more. I've seen people grab a machine for the first time. That's not the machine you want to grab. Yeah, you got good word, Bryce. It's more, you got to be a little bit more technically proficient in order to manage that. But I don't like I don't like force rotation at all. Force rotation would solve that, but then you get I think you get lazy with force rotation. So then we have the 3-inch. So we have the XFE 7, which will replace the Rupes, and also have the Rupes LHR 75, which would be the pneumatic. So 3-inch, and then PXE 80. So we'll have pneumatic, electric, and portable or battery powered. And same thing up in the 5-inch. So we have LTA 125 pneumatic. We have the electric and the LHR 15 Mark III, and we have the portable and the XFE 15. And then obviously the Nano, so we'll still carry the Nano. The Nano, I think you still want a Nano, and even though the PXE 80 can hold or have a 1-inch backing plate, I think that a lot of the people that follow us and buy stuff are willing to spend a little bit more and have their user experience better. So in a perfect world, you'd want the Nanos, both Nanos as well. Now you can buy the Nano standalone. But I think that their footprint is a little smaller. The PXE is a little bulkier, and so that'll be the polisher lineup. But I'm going to do away with the not doing any of the force rotation stuff. But we will be carrying likely force rotation pads. We'll see what the new Rupes pads look like and how they deal on the XFE. The XFE seems to do better with a thinner pad than the Rupes is perfectly balanced for the regular pads. But new Rupes pads should be out in July.
All right, I want to go to this question from Ian here in the chat. What upcoming 25-year legal overseas vehicles would you have an interest in importing, if any, or perhaps are excited to see on USA shores?
None.
Maybe like a specific Porsche?
No.
No Porsche?
None. I have not even an inkling of care about any of that crap. I don't know why that's
1995.
Yeah, there's
Hyundai.
plenty of good cars here. Why do I need some stinky Japanese or European car? I don't care about any of that. That's like the pipe dream of the poor people.
What about Francisco's related question?
I wish if I could just bring in this Japanese piece of crap, and who cares? Just buy a freaking 911 right now. They're great. What do you want? Some other bull crap, some old crap.
Some people like old crap. It's okay.
Yeah, and it's not okay. Get better dreams.
Old crap garage.
So that's the theme of the Civic. Upgrade your dreams. Well, you're talking about my dream car. That thing is just awesome. Why would you modify it? It's great. Get better dreams, bro. The car sucks.
All right, Francisco has a related question here that Bryce noticed. What car would you pick for a restoration project under $60K that's running and needing paint with dialing in afterwards?
Well, I wouldn't limit myself to $60K. I'd buy whatever I needed to buy. But it would be a just get like a 1980, 911 Carrera S or something like that, or like an 84 Carrera. But even that, I'm gonna freaking hate that so much. But it's gonna cost $280,000 to get it to reasonable, and then it's still gonna suck.
I mean, you'll do it and then you'll sell it for 150.
Yeah, spend $280, sell it for 150 would be a pipe dream. It'd be more like 80, and so I'd lose $200,000 on this this project thing that is semi jank. So because I'd have to buy a $130,000 car because I'd want it to be nice, not all rusted out and all that. I just don't have any desire to do that kind of thing where you buy the transformation car. I think I'll be rewarded for that in the long run, and that everybody does that because it's more fun, you get more views, get more engagement. I think the right people, rational, intelligent people, aren't interested in seeing some junk that you can still tell is junk, but it looks a little bit. It's like shining up a turd. It's like getting out some metal polish and shining up some stinky old piece of metal. Why don't you just get a new piece of metal? Start fresh, and then modify that new piece of metal. That's what I'd rather do.
All right, we now have a T-shirt suggestion here for the Civic giveaway. Get better dreams, bro. This car sucks with this SI on it. We're going to write that down.
It's sucking a little bit less every day, and even then, it's still going to suck when it's done. You're just comparing it to a GT. No, I'm telling you what. Take it in a vacuum if you want. Put it on the moon. It still frickin' sucks. It's a frickin' Civic. The seating position's bad. There's no torque. It's 130 horsepower. For gosh sakes. It's 130 horsepower. Like, it takes like 18 seconds to get to 80 miles an hour. It's terrible. But it's the fun of all the stuff and the absurdity of buying all this crap and putting it on it and making it. That's fun to me. So I'm allowed to say it sucks. I bought it. It's my car. I'm not comparing it to the GT3. There's no comparison. It's like comparing garbage to gold. Come on.
The Camry would have left that thing in the dust, by the way. The Camry.
Your Camry probably is faster than the Civic.
It's definitely faster than the Civic.
Whatever, your truck is probably giving me a run for my money.
Yeah.
It's 6,000 pounds.
I think it would easily
off
take
the line
Civic.
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I might be able to run you down because I'm only 2,600 pounds, but jeez.
Sport mode, it wouldn't be close.
Let's do it.
All right.
Shoot.
Mark wants to know, what would be the lowest Porsche model that you would buy?
They're all great. I mean, even a base Carrera. It's just hard to buy a base Carrera when no, I wouldn't buy a Boxster. That's stupid. But I don't like convertibles, so yeah. I mean, it'd be I guess a base Carrera. I mean, even a base Cayman. It's so hard to not want the Cayman S or the Carrera S. Bigger brakes and 30 to 50 more horsepower, and it's just hard not to. But so in my case, I wasn't interested in the progressive step of starting with a Carrera. I started right with a Carrera S. So I just waited instead of buying. Like I wasn't really interested in buying an older used base Carrera for say $40,000 or $50,000 to get started. I just waited and bought the $100-something thousand Carrera S. So it just depends on your personality, I guess. I mean, it's a much smarter move to do the when the 991 comes out, buy a 996 or a 997.1. So buy like a 2, 3, 4 year old car with 15,000 miles on it for half price is clearly the more financially intelligent move. I've always chosen to buy what I want and figure it out, because there's generally a correlation, not always, so forgive me those that I'm stereotyping, but there's generally a correlation to those that just get what they want, because they also get what they want in their career, they get what they want in their life, instead of getting what they can or getting what they have to. Then that same microcosm follows suit for the rest of their lives, and that you get the second-rate thing in comparison to what you really want, and so you're taking crap in your job, and that's just it's a microcosm of life in general.
I want to go back to polisher discussion for just a second because this ties into Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Q wants to know, do you have any thoughts, or are you going to get the Milwaukee M18 polisher?
Yeah, I mean, it's a rotary, so I'm not really going to use it. But my buddy John Clevin, who's Metropolitan Detail and STEC USA, he loves that thing. He says he uses that thing more than anything. But yeah, Milwaukee's here, coming. I placed the order. So just to kind of cue you in, there's going to be a Milwaukee Bonanza coming up here. I literally bought one of everything. And then I bought a dozen of all the things that I'm like 98% certain on. Like the M12 Impact hammer drill driver I have one. It's absolutely amazing. That's the one. So I bought 12 of those. The multi-tool. They only make one multi-tool they use all the time to mess with baseboards and stuff like that. It's going to get a little muddy for a little while as I'm building this out, because some of the stuff that we're going to have from Milwaukee is like home use, not so much garage specific. So it'll be a little muddy. But I think that I've got a vision for how this whole thing will round out. Milwaukee has 6,000 items, 6,000 SKUs. And so I'm going to work my way through every single frickin' one of them. So I started with M12, M18. I went through the catalog, spent hours, dozens and dozens and dozens of hours carrying it around with me, just fumbling through it, printing, reprinting, reshuffling, creating a spreadsheet, resorting, sorting it again, just trying to figure out what is it that I'm interested in, what products am I interested in, which ones am I not. And if I have even a little tiny bit of interest in I bought it and we're shipping it. So I bought about $80,000 worth of Milwaukee stuff with the intent to show you, here's every one. So here's every impact drill driver. Here's every heavy duty, like lug nut remover driver. Here's every everything to do with, every miter saw and every chop saw and every jigsaw. Here's every sawzall. Here's every hacksaw. Here's every part and piece. Now, what I didn't buy was like an industrial right angle knockout tool or something like that. I'm never going to use that, and most people aren't going to. So, I bought every light. I bought every it's a lot of stuff. And so the key is to break it up into palatable stuff, and then it's kind of like with the pressure washing project, just compile. There's not going to be a lot of performance testing. It's more of which ones would I want in my tool cabinet. And it's a little tricky in that I don't really have the option to go and pick DeWalt, Makita, Milwaukee. They're not going to let me do that. So I've been losing a lot of sleep on am I love the Milwaukee line. I also love complete sets, but I'm also not a retailer. So how is that going to work? And I think long term in the future, I'll be able to pick and choose. I like this Makita, this Milwaukee, this Ego, that. I think that we're going to have enough clout to do that in the future, but right now I don't have that ability. And so I'm going to use this as an opportunity to go through the entire Milwaukee line and then provide people with solutions, because I'm telling you, you go to Home Depot and who knows what you're getting. You're getting whatever gave them the greatest margin, whatever they got sold or whatever they negotiate the best deal on. I'm going to give you the one that I want. And by proxy, it's the one you should want. And the only way I can do that is by buying every one of them, figuring out which one. I guarantee you that the buyer or the purchaser at Home Depot is not a Milwaukee super fan, like I am. So we're gonna get in deep. It's gonna be fun.
All right, we got a $20 super chat here from Yoshi. Can we get a review on the Milwaukee Stick Edger?
Yeah, I don't think that I'm gonna go into the yard stuff. That was one of the things I chose not to
You're not
deal
doing
with.
any edging at your house anytime soon.
That stuff is dead to me. Yeah.
Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, so I don't think I'm gonna go there.
All right, let's see. A couple of people asking about sales. Have we seen an increase in sales despite the economy over last year? Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
And
It's tricky for us because we're in a growth trajectory, and more people are finding out about us, and we're doing something so unique. There's nothing else like this in this space that we're doing. Even the one or two companies that are trying to copy, they don't have a frickin' prayer. They just don't have the same passion that I have. There's just no way, so we're in this trajectory that's upward because we're reaching more and more people, and hopefully developing more and more influence and getting new products. And so I think I wouldn't say we're certainly not insulated, but we're going to work our faces off to continue that trajectory toward the vision. So it's a bit inevitable that it continues to grow because I'm growing the product line, and we're growing the amount of people that are watching. So as long as I don't say something stupid, I think we're okay.
All right, let's see. Blake has a question here from Facebook. After using a leather shield on your interior, what do you plan to use as a routine cleaner for the seats?
Just P&S interior cleaner. Yeah. This dude, Zach, is asking, how is Obsessed Garage not a retailer? I've explained this like 57 times, so I'm going to help with your stupidity here. So when a retailer is somebody who buys stuff and they take a stock photo and they take a stock description, but they buy like everything. So they buy, they choose product lines, but they generally buy everything from that product line. And then they try to make a margin on it. And they generally are pretty lazy around that. Walmart, for example, has, they have shelf space, and they're the biggest retailer in the world, and so they have a certain amount of shelf space, and so they can curate certain things to put on the shelf. But there's a lot of politics and a lot of purchasing of that shelf space that goes on, and margin negotiation. But really, what it comes down to, they're putting the product on the shelf, and then it's up to the retailer, or I'm sorry, it's up to the manufacturer to do the work to make sure that people know to buy that stuff on their shelf, because Walmart isn't really doing anything around marketing that product. They're not doing anything around teaching people about the product. Walmart has people that cashiers. They don't have like salespeople walking around educating you on how to buy Odang hummus, versus Sabra hummus, right? It's up to Sabra to market, to get the right shelf space, to negotiate the best margins, to get more room on the shelf, and then they're taking the product and putting it on the shelf. Now, a lot of the stuff that they sell online, Walmart is just throwing it all up there. Everything's allowed. You can put it online. Amazon, just put every product online. There's no real curation. They're not picking products. They've picked product lines, and they're carrying the entire product line. What we're doing is very different, because, like, for instance, I didn't take on Rupes. I didn't take on Gion. I didn't take on CarPro. I'm choosing products from all over the world, putting together and building a process around that, and then teaching people about it. I'm selling it. I'm not standing. I'm not just building a store and putting it on the shelf and hoping people come in. So that's very, very different than a traditional retailer. An online retailer does this where they just take stock images and stock descriptions. They just put it up there and try to see if they can capture it. Let's put 37 car shampoos up. Auto Geek would be a retailer. Now they have Mike Phillips selling the product and training people on the product. But in general, let's just get everything that comes out. Let's negotiate terms. Let's try to get the best margins. Let's try to sell it at the lowest price to capture the most volume, the most people, and let's get it out there. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with retailing. It's just I'm not interested in retailing. That would be, that would be a business that I wouldn't be interested in having. So anyway, that's the story. What's that douchebag? What is he saying? What are his deleted comments? See, this is why he asked a stupid question. So, yeah, get out of here. Go somewhere else and be annoying to other people, because I don't have time for that crap.
Let's see. From James on Facebook, will you ever own any electric car, even as a daily driver, or maybe for Michelle?
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking at Teslas as possible for like another, maybe I don't want to call it a project car, but something I'd like to try, in the future. Everybody talks about build quality and all that, and I wouldn't like it. Well, I'd have to try one at some point. I think it'd be cool to have a supercharger at the house. And the thing that interests me is when I'm on the crazy train and have to have people drive me around, I can at least have the autopilot backup. It might help me have a little less angst when I'm driving down the road. So anyway, something to think about.
All right, I have a sort of a long question here from Patrick Brown on Instagram, but I thought you might appreciate this. Hi, Matt and Chris. Big fan from Toronto here. Strike one. Sorry, Patrick. I recently graduated from university and came out with a job at a bank, but would love to end up with a career that has something to do with cars, similar to what you're doing. I see us being similar in a sense that you used to work in wealth management and transition careers by starting Obsessed Garage. Is there any advice or tips you can provide to someone starting out their career who aspires to end up somewhere in the automotive world? Thank you.
I watched an interesting video from Marquez, MKBHD, where I think he was being interviewed on another podcast, and obviously people ask him the question all the time, how do I get to do what you do? All right, how can I be like you and do what you get to do? Obviously the likelihood of that happening, there's a confluence of events that created Marquez as a content creator. He has a passion for technology. He got started really early on. He got started early in life. He had the right parents, the right circumstances, the right place, the right appetite for production value, got in the algorithms. There's all these things that happen to make it happen for him. But ultimately it came down to risk and reward. A lot of risk, a lot of effort, a lot of luck, a lot of right place, right time. And so like I couldn't have written my script. Like I didn't write the script when I was his age, and I just graduated from college and said, this is what I'm going to do. All right, I'm going to sell home theater, and because I flunked the course, I'm going to sell home theater, and then I'm going to do that for a while, and then I'm going to meet someone at Merrill Lynch, and they're going to break me under their wing, and I'm going to learn the wealth management business, make a little bit of money, and then I'm going to get fired from that, and I'm going to start, or I'm going to start Obsessed Garage. Obsessed Garage is going to get me fired from that, and then I'm going to be able to do things with cars my whole life. So it's hard for someone like me to give someone like him advice because I just don't know how to do it. I don't have a clue. Other than be open to chasing passion, be open to taking a cut, or I took cuts all along the way. Like I'd see potential, knowing that I wasn't going to walk into the next job. I think this is where people make a big mistake, is that they're always looking for an upgrade. You get accustomed to a certain lifestyle, and you're always looking for an upgrade. But sometimes that upgrade is a little bit longer tail. And so I think one of the things that I can provide the most advice to people is that you have to see your crossroads, see it for potential, not for upgrades. Because chances are, if you're going to go into something else, you're going to have to start at a lower rung than where especially if you're good at what you do, and if you're good at life, if you don't suck at life, you're going to excel. You're going to do well in whatever you choose to do. And so chances are, to take the step up, especially if it's in a different field or a different area or a different interest, you're going to have to start lower than where you ended up and wherever you've dead ended. The key is to never dead end. All right? And so, I was talking to my friend Bobby Siney today about his garage, and he's one of the guys very early on who he actually, thank goodness he did this, but he actually went and acquired. He locked down the Obsessed Garage Instagram handle, because I had everything Matt Mormon, and I just started Obsessed Garage, and he'd kind of given me a little bit of advice because he had built some companies in the past, and we had talked about me managing his money at Merrill Lynch, so we developed a friendship around that, and so he had actually gone in and locked down the Obsessed Garage name. He just gave it to me. He didn't sell it to me or anything, just because he knew that I would need it, and I'm like, I don't need that. He saw where we are today a long time ago, and so we were talking a lot about the concepts of not precluding yourself from things and understanding your value. And it's really, really tricky. Like, for instance, when I'm trying to convince Milwaukee to let me sell their stuff, and whereas I have to devalue what I know is I'm going to be worth to Milwaukee in order to have them let me in the door. And so I'm in a transition in this in this business, in this life, and so I think, again, going back to this question, I think you're always going to be in transition, and if you stay in transition, and if you can figure out a way to wrap passion around that, and know that sometimes when you make transitions, you have to take 2 steps back to take 10 steps forward, that I think you'll be in really great shape. I don't think you accept mediocrity, but sometimes you're going to have to be. You're not going to get paid for what you're worth, in order to eventually get paid more than what you're worth. And that comes in many shapes and sizes. And for you to replicate my path, or for you to replicate Marquez's path and MKBHD, what you have to do is have enough imagination to not chase somebody else's path. That's their path. Obsessed Garage is my path. To have all of that primordial soup of all this stuff come together for somebody else to do this, it's just not going to happen. It just isn't. It has to happen for you and whatever your thing is. Now, there will be copiers, but they'll never be as successful because they're just copying. So you don't copy Marquez. You figure out how to, you take it as inspiration and then write your own script, take your own path. Like this dude telling me about retail, and how we're not retailers, and it angers me because I've answered it 57 times, probably 570 times. But that argument of or that ability to be able to say, I don't care what somebody like that says to me. I'm gonna chase what I see, which is what everybody's telling me won't exist, can't work, no one will do that, but I see it. And when you see those things, if you're willing to take 2 steps back, take 10 steps forward, you might get lucky.
All right. And Patrick then chimed in the chat and said, appreciate your honesty, Matt. Thanks for answering my question. Nathan asked a question that then Mike in the chat agreed with here and wanted to hear. Do you miss sealing and waxing with Jessica and Colonite now that you're doing more coatings?
No, not really. I mean, if you have a superior product, it just took me a long time to make that transition. I'd rather, you'll probably see this from me a lot. I mean, I don't tend to early adopt. It's a bit confusing for me because sometimes I'll create or chase things that really aren't mainstream or popular, but a lot of times they've been around a long time. I've just never been a real big early adopter. Like a press-all bottle, I'm asking the people that are early adopters to be early adopters, but I've never really been one. And so coatings in the beginning, we talked about C1 and C Quartz UK and original C Quartz and original A Quartz and some of these things. They just weren't good, and they didn't look good. Optimum, the original Opti coat and original gloss coat, it just didn't look good. And so now we've finally gotten to the point to where they look good, and the original discovery, the original tipping point to me was the Esoteric introducing me to Kamikaze, and so we started to chase that, and now I think there's a lot of solutions, a lot of options that look great, and so they become a lot easier to install, and so the viability of Jessica Colonite for for the later progressive steps in your detailing path, it just makes more sense. I still think that if you're not proficient in polishing, getting your car looking the way you want it to look, or you have all the tools or the right conditions or the right facility, I still think that it still needs to exist. Just like I'm progressively providing the people steps for a pressure washer. It took me a while to figure this out. And speaking of retailing versus curating, it took me a while to figure. Like I had no intention of selling a cartridge pressure washer because I thought that it's just not good. And then going through the exercise started to give me some clarity on what would I have bought if I was 25 and just starting out. I just bought a house. I don't have the funds to take a gamble. There's actually a period. I don't know if you experience this, but there's a period in a lot of people's lives where you have a bunch and then you take like 10 steps back because when you're in an apartment and you don't have any kids, you don't have any responsibilities, and you're making a decent amount of money, you have a lot more disposable income, and then you have this period in your mid-20s, early 30s where you have less disposable, and then hopefully your job takes off, or you pay off things, and hopefully you figure out if you're not as afflicted like me, maybe you figure out a lot of that crap that you wanted really doesn't matter. So anyway.
All right. Question here from Jeff73. At the July open house, will you be selling some of that Milwaukee stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if July is going to be practical. We'll see what happens with the virus bull crap, but I don't know how practical that's going to be. We'll see. I've still yet to meet a single person, but what do I know? We'll see how far I get into the product but what I want to do is have like a open house, touch and feel, and then a lot of stuff I'm going to keep, but some of a bunch of it, like the duplicates, I'm going to have 17 different impacts. I only want one or two of them. We'll sell off all of those at a discount. The margins are not very strong on Milwaukee, so don't expect like 50% off discounts. But so what's this dude? He just keeps replying. That's when someone asks a douchey question, when he just keeps fighting, keeps coming back. If it was a serious question, it wasn't loaded, then we wouldn't be having to mute him all the time. So, god dang.
Stop letting him look at those comments.
Some people. Just don't be a douche. I couldn't even imagine doing that. We come on to, all right, Jay Leno's hosting a live stream. Let me ask a douchey question that I know is going to get him. And then stand by that. I can't believe, why would you? I was just asking a question. What, I'm not allowed to ask questions? No. You're allowed to do what I tell you to do on my own freaking live stream. That's the way it works. Gosh, this freaking people. What do you want from me? To come over to my house and tell me I'm stupid. This is my house, bro. You've asked a question, I answered it. You just don't like the answer. Then you just keep coming back with more stupid questions and justifications. If you were a good dude, you say, "Oh shoot, man, I didn't realize that you cared that much about it." No, that's not the way it goes. You gotta stick it to him. This guy's full of crap. Now I'm gonna create a crusade. I'm gonna campaign to make sure to take him down. Just get your own life. Leave me out of it.
Yes, Matt did have some Sprite today before the show for whoever that was that asked. Any plans to sell the White Raptor anytime soon?
No, we're just going to probably run that thing we'll probably sell it with some residual value left, but it's running great. I did all the little tweaks and polished it and put a bunch of new trim and pieces on it and got it all cleaned up. I'd like to get the dents taken out of it. There's like three major dents that I know of. I learned to stop saying there's 3 dents. There's 3 dents that I know of on it that I'd like to get taken out. But it looks good. The new wheels and tires. I do have new center caps and lugs. I have to pull it in here. Michelle's headed to the Keys on Saturday, and so when she comes back, I'll put the new lugs and center caps and all that stuff on it. But yeah, the truck's looking good. It's at 92,000 miles. I think that 6.2 liter V8 is good. So It shouldn't be a problem running it for another year or two. What I don't want to end up is a bunch of little ticky-tack problems with it. I was having issues with the door, the rear doors. Like they put this filament inside the wiring, and it cuts the wires, and then it can't recognize that the door is open or closed, and so you end up with an arrow light. So I pulled that filament out, capped all that, tied it, wire tie, or what did I do? I soldered it and taped it, and took that stupid little plastic thing out, and that's really been the only problem we've had with it thus far. So, yeah, it's doing well. We're gonna run that thing into the ground.
Is that the most number of miles you've ever had on any car you've owned?
No, I had my AP2 S2000. My 2007 had 132,000 miles on it, or something like that. When I lived in Claremont and drove up here, it was like a 42-mile each way drive. But that car, that was the most miles I've ever had on a car. I don't know what my original, I think my Pontiac Sunfire had like 80,000 miles on it or something. But most cars I've had, I think my Chevy Beretta had like 6,000 miles on it when we got it or something like that. Something really, really low. Let's see, my Civic had 27,000. The RSX I got had like 12 or 13,000. I think my original Civic back in 2000 had like 10 or 12,000 miles on it, something like that. So, yeah, I mean it'll probably end up being the most mileage car. I don't know what Michelle's Accord had. I don't really count that car. She had it before we got married. We're gonna do a Civic drive here coming up because she had a Civic EX. So I want her to do a drive in the car before it gets too modified, and capture that on video. I think it'd be fun.
All right, we got a good question from Ozzy here in the chat. With the Cox hose reels being offered in black and gray colors, hopefully soon, would you consider offering matching colors for the Cobra Jet pressure washer hoses? Can we get those?
Cobra, wait, what?
Like having a black Cobra Jet hose or a gray Cobra Jet hose?
We don't really have a lot of options because that blue jacket, the jacket that we have, that super pliable jacket, it only comes in blue. Doesn't come in black, doesn't come in gray. So the other colored Cobra Jet hoses are not the same. That's why I don't carry them. It's not the same hose. It's not as pliable. It's not as unmarkable. It's just not as nice. So I don't. Maybe someday, again, when we move to the new facility, one of the things I want to get up and running really quickly is making our own hoses. So we start to buy the hose, the pressure flex hose, and start to manufacture them ourselves. That way we can make whatever size we need and do it quicker and cut down on shipping.
That was a question someone asked in the Facebook group, actually, about when is that an option, because they needed a 15-foot hose. They had a very specific measurement.
Yeah, not anytime soon, but I would say sometime this year would be the hope. It'd be early next year. But yeah, we need to get a crimper and train people, and then we'd have to buy. We don't want to buy big long lengths of hose and figure out how to do that.
Let's see.
Would cut.
Bless you.
I think it would cut the hose cost by like 50%, maybe even more. It would be a significant cost difference. We would make more money, and it would cost people less. Because the labor cost, if you have somebody you're paying, say 30 or 40, let's say you're paying them $15 to $18 an hour to make the hose. So let's say your all-in cost is $20 an hour. Let's say a person could make 10 hoses an hour. It's costs you $2 a hose labor wise, and then that's way less than what I'm paying in transport for each hose. The transport cost for each hose is probably double or triple that.
Coming from California, especially.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Brian Chu wants to know how long until the custom branded Crensless solution. I guess like with our box and everything. And
yeah, that's on our short list, but I don't know. I do want to have it has the OG spec gun. So the progressive steps on that is we're very close to getting our inventory under control, figuring out the Mosmatic fittings and all of that stuff. So we're very close to assimilating that. Getting that we've built up a huge stock of wands and guns, and so now we need to turn the spigot on and get the OG spec packages done for where the OG spec packages make sense. And then from there, then we can start to build out our packaging and boxing facility. So Angela at Krensla has been beating me over the head saying, we need a box, we need a design, we need a design. And I keep dodging her because we don't have the stock on the stuff to turn that loose yet.
Let's see. Christopher wants to know, are you planning to do any more upgrades on the M3?
Yeah. I like to do carbon ceramics and some kind of wheels. So suspension, brakes, and some kind of wheels will be the next little iteration on it.
Cars and Motorcycles Exotic says he got the new OG tire dressing yesterday and applied to the new NSX. I'm hooked. It's great stuff.
Yeah, it's
Thanks.
pretty good. I mean, it's again, I don't make empty promises, and I hope I know I didn't overplay it. It's probably a little better than the way I've talked about it. Pan should have a video on it here shortly, and so he thinks it's freaking awesome, and so a lot, and I think the vast majority of people, some professional detailers have sent me saying it takes a little longer, and they prefer Pearl over it, which is fine. I mean, the Pearl is an amazing product. I don't even know that we're going to cancel it from the store. It has much more. It's much more versatile. Pearl is dilutable. It's more versatile. It's one of the problems we have with Pearl is getting it. Is getting it here. It's not shippable internationally because of the chemical that it has in it. So I don't even think they can bring it in by air. I think it only comes in by boat. So that's probably part of the reason why it's hard to get at times. And I mean, you figured, when you think about this logically, what is our margin? So our margins look like 50% on the tire dressing, and it's like 38% or something, 35% on Pearl. And so all the extra work we have to do to make our own tire dressing is certainly not worth it unless it's better. And so it's a better product. And if something better comes out that I can buy that's supplants both of those, then I'll punt it and we'll do something else. That's the key requisites. I don't want to get stuck with a product line that I have to double down on and can't quit. I want to be able to quit my own product line just so I want to be able to quit every other product. If there's something that I like significantly better. Knowing that now, we're steering, in the beginning I was steering a tugboat. Now I'm steering a much bigger boat, let's say, and eventually we'll be steering a darn freightliner. And so to make a change to a product is a much bigger process than it was in the beginning, and that stresses me out. And where eventually I want to build a team to where their entire job is to turn this freightliner as quickly as possible.
I like that. Let's see. D-Ron Jones one. If I have an order pending shipment, but I wanted to add the new tri-plug splitter, is that possible to do? Email support at Obsessed Garage, and they'll help you out with that.
Yeah, I think we're good enough, we're caught up enough to where we can start, amending, editing orders more efficiently, because the stack was like this tall, and now it's, this tall. So we're waiting on Angel Wax Vision. We're waiting on our signs to get here, because they were
24-inch signs.
The 24-inch signs were jacked up, and so we pulled the whole thing and said. So I think we had some people wanting their money back from the giveaway, even though we made it very explicit that this might get out of control. It's a pre-order, and we're going to deliver it as quickly as we can, but it might take a couple months for us to get this done. And so once we get those, then I think we're going to be pretty caught up, and then I want to get into inventory and get everything counted. Yeah, and moved around and reorganized and shuffled and more efficiently set up without spending too much time and energy, because we'll be moving to the new place in 3 or 4 months probably.
All right, that bearded veteran wants to know, hey Matt, what brand HD shelving do you use or recommend? Cabinets won't work in my garage due to all my wife's boxes and bulky kids' toys I have to store. I currently use the 5 shelf racks from Costco.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to go industrial to go commercial, and that would be to look up DC Graves, and or just sort of Google searching. So the same kind of racking we have out here, they make 24-inch deep versions, but I think you want The thing I want with shelves is I want flat shelves. I don't want wire shelves. Wire shelves are, and I also don't want plywood shelves because they warp. And so I would, if I was doing home storage, I wanted my garage to look nice, I would be looking for professional grade stuff. So I'd be looking at Lista shelving, or which would be insanely expensive, or DC Graves is a supplier of the kind of, I forget what it's called, but where it's like the little keyhole type uprights that hammer in place, but you want a flat shelf. And so I would go to give them the contact and see if you can buy 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, DC Graves did all of our shelving here at OGHQ.
I don't know that they're super interested in selling like 3 shelves to somebody, but I mean, if they get a lot of people buying 3 shelves, they might just do it. They don't manufacture it; they have someone they work with, but they'll source it for you. And you can build it. It's pretty modular. I mean, you can build it whatever height you need it to be within normal 2-foot increments.
All right, Vigor Auto Detailing. This is a good one to close up here. More money questions here. Matt, how much or what would it take you to get to grow a beard? A good-sized beard, not a baby one.
Yeah, I don't know if I could. I think I probably could now. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not really interested in that. I'd probably do that for $10,000.
That'd be fun.
But because that you can just cut off.
Oh, see.
But I
That
don't.
goes away pretty quickly.
I'd feel bad
tattoo.
taking somebody's $10,000 or taking $10,000 for that. I'd rather have some sort of equal exchange in value. That's certainly unequal. But I don't know. I just never really thought about doing it. That's a funny one, though.
That is a good one. Let's see. Here's actually, I want to get to this question. It's a good one. What's your process to find good companies to leave your car with? How do you know they're passionate about what they do, like Presidential, the Dent Company, etc.?
That's a hard one, man. You have to be willing to make mistakes, So, which in the beginning, early on, really sucked because I love my car way more than I love my cars now. You just have to trial and error it. First thing you obviously talk to friends, try to pull from multiple resources to find out recommendations. But even then, nobody's like me, right? So no one has the same standards that I have, and so that's the tricky part. So you just have to kind of palm hundos and travel around and ask your buddies, and then ask other people. Like if you're at one type of shop and you're looking for another type of shop, then you ask them who they would suggest, and then you take it there, and 90% of the time you're disappointed. That's kind of the way it goes until you find the right people, and even then those people kind of come and go.
All right. Well, that's all the questions we got today here. It's 4:27, so we almost got a
I gotta go.
Yeah. And thank you all for joining us in the chat for the questions. We appreciate it.
Sorry for picking on you, Zach. You have to understand where I'm coming from here when people freaking tell me what to do. And then they keep coming back, telling me more. I don't like that. So, anyway, I'll catch you guys on the next one.
Next week.
Yeah, we'll be here. See you soon.